Rabbi Manis Friedman, hello. Thank God it's Tuesday. So excited to have you on the show today. It actually came as a surprise. We were told initially that we have to cancel today, and then this tremendous gift that we get on Tuesdays when we say, "Thank God it's Tuesday," we get to spend this time with you and to get a lot of wisdom from you. So priceless. Thank you so much. As I just said to our listeners, we just celebrated one of the greatest holidays that Jewish people have, the holiday of Shavuot, when we received our most prized possession, the Torah. And every time we get a holiday, we are so hopeful that this is it. This is the moment. We're going to get a miracle. The world is going to become phenomenal the way we've been promised, told, the way we study how it should be. And the holiday passes, we turn on our phones, and unfortunately, same old. And we're back to the thing that we're told we need to do and be good at, which is keeping faith. And of course, that brings us to today's topic. We unpacked so many things on this show, but we really haven't unpacked here faith. What does faith really mean? And what does it mean keeping faith? Can we get deep into this discussion?
Good topic. It's a very interesting kind of a paradox. We love miracles. We thrive on miracles. We survive on miracles. And the one thing that we would expect to be the most miraculous, which is the coming of Mashiach, no, that has to be natural. It cannot be miraculous. It must come from the bottom up, not from the top down. It can't come from heaven. It has to come from earth. Sounds strange. And most people believe that the coming of Mashiach is a miraculous event. There will be miracle upon miracle, and everything will change, and everything will be different miraculously. That is not correct. Because if it could happen miraculously, why is it taking so long? What, are there days in which miracles can't happen? Are there years in which miracles can't happen? And aren't there miracles happening every single day that we see, that we know about, and those that we don't know about and will never know about? So why, of all things, is the coming of Mashiach has to be natural? No miracles. Hard work. Effort on our part. We bring Mashiach, not a miracle. The whole idea is that the lowest of all worlds has the potential of being the highest. But it has to be the world itself on its own steam and by its own effort achieves that or fulfills that potential. So what are we doing to make it happen? Miracles are necessary when the world is not good. When nature is not supporting life. And by the way, nature does not support life. Nature is very pretty, but it does not support life. Everything in nature decays, ages, falls apart, peters out, dies. Everything moves towards oblivion. Our job is to change that. Our job is to make nature move upwards instead of downwards, increase instead of decrease, life instead of death. That's our job. So what are we doing? Well, we got to do more. But you're not going to do much if you're not absolutely certain that this is the right thing to do and that the results will come. Where do you get that confidence? Where does this come from? So we call it faith. Believe. Believe means I can't prove it, I can't logically explain it, but I'm so sure that it's going to happen. What in the world is that? Can you ever be sure if you're believing? Can you ever be sure that your belief is true? That is a very strange question. Because by definition, belief means more certain than any argument can make it. Belief is a certainty beyond all questions. Real belief. When a person says, I don't know, I believe it's going to be nice tomorrow, which means I'm very unsure. I'm just guessing. Well, that's not belief. That really is just a guess, a hope, wishful thinking. Real faith means absolute certainty. So there are two ways that we become convinced. One is through faith, and the other is through logic. If you can demonstrate logically that this will be the outcome of this action, then I'm convinced that that's what's going to happen. Which one is more convinced, the believer or the intelligent, the intellectual?
We always think the intellectual.
So it turns out there is no one more insecure than an intellectual. Because no matter how many proofs I can bring to prove that I am right, as an intelligent being, I know I could be wrong. That's intelligence. So intelligence gives you a logical pattern of thought. It cannot convince you that what you're thinking is true, because if you're convinced that it's true, it's no longer intelligent. Now it's dogma. That's faith. So I asked the student, who is very scientifically, I said, can Einstein's theory be wrong? Can he be wrong about the speed of light? He says, no. He can't be wrong? He says, no. I said, oh, so now we're having an interfaith dialogue. It has become your religion. What do you mean it can't be wrong? That is not intelligent. Intelligence is an assumption, a theory, which could easily be replaced by a better theory. If you don't think like that, you're not scientific at all. So actually, the only true certainty is in faith. But faith has a bad reputation as being irrational, illogical, dogmatic, narrow-minded. What is real faith? Real faith is a little bit mystical. The soul that human beings have experiences far more than it lets us know. For example, my soul knows a lot more than I do. I try to tap into my soul's knowledge base. I succeed to some degree, but there's so much more that my soul knows that I cannot know. So all intelligence is like a trickle down of the great vast store of knowledge that a soul has, and it very gradually, incrementally shares that information with my conscious thinking. So, for example, I have a problem. Intellectual, I have a question. I'm stuck, I can't figure it out. I sit, I think, and all of a sudden I know the answer. What happened? What happened? It's not I figured it out. It's not like I put 2 and 2 together and came to the conclusion that it's 4. No, that's not how it happens. I discover a vastly new idea that I never thought of before. It is not the result of what I already know. It's brand new. Where did it come from? Some people call that genius. If you can discover an idea that nothing you knew before led you to it, it came out of nowhere. Not nowhere. It came out of your soul, because your soul knows so much more than your conscious mind does. So if you open yourself up to the intelligent soul, it will share more information. How do you open yourself up? You yearn for the information. That's what you do when you're thinking about a problem and you don't know the answer. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking? You know the problem, you don't know the answer. So what are you thinking? More than thinking, it's yearning. It's hungering for the answer. And when you develop a hunger for it, it draws the information from the intelligence of your soul. So we are, as human beings, intelligent creatures, not because of what we know, because of what we can know, because our soul is highly intelligent. The question is only how much of that intelligence can you squeeze out of your soul and bring it into words? The same is true also with the perception of reality. Our perception of reality is very flawed because the body is not real, and it distorts everything. Just for an example, the eye sees incorrectly, and then the brain has to adjust because everything we see is upside down. The eye sees everything upside down. But the brain says a pyramid standing on a tip, that doesn't make sense. So the brain flips it with the broad base at the bottom and the tip at the top, because then it can stand. In other words, the eye doesn't see correctly. The mind has to correct it. But the soul sees reality without distortion. The soul knows its creator. Why? It's a piece of the creator. That awareness, I can't even call it intelligence or knowledge, that awareness also trickles down. And when it trickles down, it creates faith. What does faith mean? Certainty. I see reality, and it's real, and it's certain, and it's unquestionable. You can't disprove it because it didn't come from a proof. It came from the soul's vision. The soul sees reality. A little bit of that trickles down. But that reality is not assumed, it's not guessed, it's not a theory, it's real. And that's why we're absolutely certain. So what your soul sees is what you believe. So belief does not come from learning, it doesn't come from knowledge, it doesn't come from intelligence. It's much higher and therefore much more certain. It's true.
Rabbi Friedman, but how come then some people have more faith and others less faith?
In the same way that some people have more intelligence and some people have less intelligence, it's how open you are to your soul. If your mind is open to your soul, it'll get more information, knowledge. If your heart is open to your soul, it'll get more faith.
So intelligence is just openness?
To intelligence, not to truth.
Again, comes from yearning?
Yeah. If you have a question you really want to answer, your soul will give you the answer. You know, on Pesach, by the Seder, we say in Yiddish, Tate, I want to ask you 4 questions. That is the process of learning. Tate means father, but it also means source. Your father is the source. You begin to exist in your father. That's your soul. So every intelligence is the mind asking its father, tell me the answer. And if you're sincere in your question, your father, which means the native intelligence of your soul, will give you the answer.
Rabbi Friedman, so you're saying it's the extent of being open to the information, whether it's belief or it's intellect or whatever it is. But then the question is, how do we manage that? How do we open ourselves up to the extent where we receive that information and that?
Right. So to open yourself up to knowledge, you have to be curious. You have to be hungry for information. To open yourself up to faith, you have to be innocent. In other words, stop distorting what you see. Arrogance, for example, blocks the connection to your faith. Because you want to think of the world your way. You don't want to know how it really is. Like, I have my opinion and I don't care about the facts. Well, and you'll never see reality. So people who are innocent have more faith. You want more faith? Be more innocent. Children have a lot of faith. They believe you absolutely because they're innocent. They grow up and they start distorting everything they see, and they lose their faith. So faith comes from innocence. What is the word? The word sincere. I think we've talked about this once. Sincere means, in Latin, without wax. Sin means without, Sarah means wax. Without wax. The Greeks made statues out of marble. Marble has a tendency to flake. As you're working with it, kind of little flakes break off and leave a little imperfection in the surface. So they would sell statues that were filled in with wax. And then they sold the perfect ones that were sincera, without wax. So without wax means natural, untouched, not tampered with. A person can be sincere, which is innocent, and that allows the soul to communicate truth, reality, actually. But when you're arrogant and when you're presumptuous and wishful thinking, I want to believe something else, then you distort reality.
Rabbi Friedman, the thing is, we cannot be certain about our sincerity. We can't be, right now, the biggest doubt is who we are ourselves. And if we have such doubts about who we are ourselves, are we really sincere? I know that a lot of people want to and are trying really hard to open themselves up to faith, to intellect. But in this world, the biggest problem is knowing if we are in that state where the information that comes is true information, or is it false hope or stupid ideas that are coming from some place where we don't want them to come from? How do we navigate that we know that whatever we are receiving is it rather than something else?
If you're uncertain, you're on the wrong track. So people think, you can believe whatever you want. You can believe anything. That's not true at all. Real belief means the certainty that your soul has because it sees reality. It's not a theory, it's not an opinion, it's not even an experience. It's the truth. So you can't believe whatever you want. For example, the soul knows its creator. You can't convince your soul that somebody else created you. So this idea that faith is a free-for-all, you can believe whatever you want. No, you can't. Then it's not belief. Belief is what comes from the soul, and you can't mess with the soul. You can block it, but you can't distort it. So faith, by the way, is a very powerful tool. If you believe you're going to recover from a disease, you will recover from it. If you believe that you won't, then you won't. It's very powerful. Even if what you're believing is wrong. In other words, having faith even in something false is healthy. Not true, but it's healthy. So to believe in nothing is, first of all, not very holy, but it's also not healthy. If you believe in nothing, your entire immune system crashes. If you believe in something, your immune system won't crash, even though what you're believing is totally wrong.
Rabbi Friedman, can faith be developed, worked on, strengthened?
Not really. See, that's the problem. People who want to have faith get very frustrated because there's nothing you can do to have faith. It's a process of elimination. Get rid of the arrogance, get rid of the selfishness and the wishful thinking. Stop wanting reality to be what you hope it is. Then you're open to the truth. And the truth will come of its own. You can't force it. You're born with it, by the way. Every child is born believing. The trick in raising children is to not ruin it. Don't take away their innocence. Don't take away their sincerity. So faith is childlike, not childish. Huge difference. A childlike faith is a wonderful, perfect faith. A childish faith is one you made up.
How do we channel it, though? I mean, how do we really, really get to a point where we are in that state that we have no doubts?
For most people, they need to get clear about the difference between opinion and faith. Very few people can define faith. It's a result of your upbringing. It's your thinking. No, it's not. It's not. Faith is not created. It's not produced. It's the default position of your soul. And if you can listen to your soul, then you will know what's real. If you can't listen to your soul, then you're treading water and making up stuff as you go. And that is not a secure feeling. So the intellectual is the most insecure person in the world. Because he intellectually knows that he can be wrong. So nothing is for sure. That's terrible.
Rabbi Friedman, is trust similar to faith or something else?
Well, it's even stronger than faith. If I have faith in you, it means I am sure that whatever you do is going to be good. Because you're good. I ask you for a favor. Am I sure you're going to do the favor? How can I be sure of that? If I am sure, that's called trust. So faith means whatever you do is probably good. Trust means, no, you're going to do exactly what I ask you. Now, where do I get confidence in that? So it's like another layer of faith. Not only do I trust that whatever God does is for the good, I trust he's going to give me what I just asked for. That's presumptuous. What makes you think he's going to give you what you asked for? Because he said he would. He said, ask me and I'll give you. So what happens if I ask and he doesn't give me? Then I go back to faith. Right? Yeah, he's probably right, and it's better for me not to have it. So trust means I expect God to give me whatever I ask and whatever I request. After the fact, I believe. Whether he answers me or not, I go back to faith. So in God we trust is not the same as in God we believe. It's significant. They didn't put on the dollar bill, they didn't put in God we believe, because everybody believes. You know what? There's nothing special about that. All the founding fathers believed in God. To say you believe was like the default position. Why do you have to even state that? In God we trust. That's much deeper. And putting it on the dollar bill is really significant because most people put all their trust in the dollar. So on the dollar, you say, no. I don't worship the dollar. I trust God. Otherwise, the dollar becomes your idol. They were not into idol worship.
Rabbi Friedman, are we the generation of less faith or more faith?
That's a very good question because you can have faith and not even know it. You're born believing and you remain a believer even though you muddy it all up with your theories and with your opinions and with your wants and with your distortions. I think just even statistically, more than 80% of America are believers. But it's not cool. It's not in vogue. So even somebody who believes, if you ask him, will say no. It's not popular, which is very sad. Because without faith, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's like billions and billions of dollars spent on finding a cure for cancer. What makes you think there is a cure for cancer? You're so certain that there is a cure that you're willing to spend years and years and billions of dollars. You do a couple of years of research. There is no solution. There is no cure for cancer. So you give it up. There's no cure. We looked. There's none. No, look some more. Why? What's motivating you? An absolute conviction there must be a cure for every disease. Where is this coming from? Wishful thinking? No. Wishful thinking is it'll go away by itself. Heavy, deep research, that's not wishful thinking. That's confidence. Where do we get this confidence from? Where do we get the confidence that someday there will be no wars? There will be peace in the world? Well, based on what? All the evidence shows the opposite. The world was never at peace, starting with Cain and Abel. They were at war with each other. It wasn't a big battlefield because there was just two of them. But they were at war. So what are you thinking? Someday billions of people are going to get along? Even two people couldn't get along. But we're sure there will be a time, there will be peace. That's faith. It is childlike, but that's not an argument against it. Childlike means natural, organic. That's not a bad thing. Childish, yeah, that's a bad thing.
How does naive come into play here?
Naive in a positive sense. Don't try to be so smart. Artless. Don't presume. Don't put on a persona. Don't try to impress. Don't try to outdo. Just let it go and see what's real. That's childlike.
Being open is the key. Amazing, 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 Rabbi Friedman. Well, this was an incredible gift today for all of us to have this conversation, to get deep into this topic and to, with your help, understand the essence of it. Thank you so much. Absolutely priceless. And we thank you for every single week that you give us this opportunity to get a little bit higher, a little bit smarter, a little bit more elevated. It's incredible.
And be confident about it. Is there a possibility that there will always be wars? No, there's no such possibility. That's wishful thinking on the part of some. No, it's not possible. Is it possible that the world was created for no purpose? No, it's not possible. That we know for sure. I was thinking of writing a book someday, and the title is Of This I Am Sure.
Great title.
Because what are we sure about? What can we be sure about?
That there's a purpose to our existence.
And how do we know that? We don't know that. We believe that. And that makes it more real than if I know it. Because whatever I know, you can out-know me. You can come up with a better explanation, a better theory, and prove me wrong. But faith means you can't prove it wrong. It just is.
Let's keep faith. Sounds like a great idea. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. Thank you for this time you gave us and for the information. And
always a pleasure.
Thank you. And may we continue to share good news and
Amen.
good everything. Thank you so much.